As I look at the night sky bright with lightning, it brings back memories about the night the sky burned. It was April 29th, 1992, back in my hometown of South Los Angeles. I wasn't watching the news. I was frosting a cake. My son was turning one the next day. We lived in a garage apartment on the corner of 50th Street and Normandy Avenue, the kind of place where you knew your neighbors, not always by name, but by the rhythm of their routines. Our neighborhood may have been broke, but it wasn't broken. We were raising kids, fixing cars, making ends meet. We knew, even when the system didn't, that we were worth something. As night fell, I noticed 3 fires burning south of us. Not wildfires, intentional ones. I could see them from our window, red glows blooming on the horizon. Then came the sirens, flashing lights, engines roaring, squad cars speeding down Normandy. That's when I turned on the television.
Breaking news. KCBS 2 Los Angeles, 6:14 p.m.
We have unconfirmed reports that a major disturbance has broken out at the intersection of Florence and Normandy. Eyewitnesses say several motorists have been pulled from their vehicles. LAPD presence is increasing. This is developing rapidly.
There it was, live and in color. Our neighborhood, not some foreign city, on fire, on the news, unraveling in real time. I stood frozen as I watched my community erupt, not because we were violent, but because we were ignored. This wasn't random, this was consequence. I held my baby boy close, the weight of him grounding me. His father paced behind me, fists clenched, eyes wide. The phone rang nonstop. Aunt Michelle, my cousin Ray, friends from across town.
Are you okay?
Is the baby safe?
Don't leave the house.
Outside, people I knew were walking with purpose. They left empty-handed and came back carrying boxes, appliances, radios, whatever could be grabbed before the next storefront collapsed. These weren't strangers. These were folks from my block. This wasn't looting. It was release. A kind of fury you can't fake after years of being told your pain doesn't matter.
About the catalyst being the Rodney King verdict. Rodney Glenn King, a 25-year-old black man, was brutally beaten by LAPD officers in March 1991 after a high-speed chase. The footage, recorded by a bystander from a balcony, captured King being struck over 50 times with batons and stomped while already on the ground. It played on every TV screen in America.
Yet, on April 29, 1992, a jury in Simi Valley acquitted all 4 officers. The jury was made up of 10 white jurors, 1 Latino, and 1 Asian American. Not a single black juror, not a single conviction. It was a verdict that told us the tape didn't matter, that our eyes had lied, that our pain had no legal standing. The fires moved closer. I could see smoke curling into the sky from a gas station not far from my home. Someone screamed down the street, either in warning or celebration. I didn't know which. I just knew something sacred had been shattered. The sound of glass breaking echoed like punctuation after decades of silence, and still I couldn't look away. My son slept soundly, unaware of the history being written outside our door. I pressed a kiss to his forehead and whispered, "You were never meant to inherit this pain, but I will teach you what it means."
KTLA 5, Morning News, April 30th, 1992.
Governor Pete Wilson has called in the National Guard to restore order in Los Angeles. Curfews are now in place. Military vehicles have been seen patrolling Florence, Western, Vermont, and Normandy avenues. Martial law is being enforced in several areas.
By morning, I watched from the same window as soldiers in camouflage marched down our street. Helicopters circled overhead. The corner store where I used to buy diapers was gone. The liquor store was boarded up, what was left of it. It felt like something permanent had shifted, like the ground beneath South Central had cracked wide open and swallowed every ounce of patience we'd been told to keep. We had played by the rules, and the rules had failed us. But even in that moment, I looked at my son, this soft, warm, beautiful life I had brought into the world, and I found something steady. I didn't know what came next, but I knew he deserved better than this. We all did. "Happy birthday, son," I said softly to my baby. I hoped he'd slept well because the city didn't sleep, and neither did I. Not after what we saw, not after what we'd felt. By morning, Normandy Avenue looked like a war zone, not from invaders, but from years of institutional neglect laid bare in damaged storefronts. The tanks rolled past us. Soldiers, young enough to still have curfews back home, pointed rifles down streets where kids normally rode bikes. I remember clutching my son tighter than ever. His first birthday had arrived, but there was no candle, no laughter, no guests. We couldn't leave our home. I remember hearing military boots on concrete and seeing smoke still rising from stores that would never reopen. And then, around noon, the TV screen flickered with something we hadn't seen in days.
NBC4 Los Angeles, April 30th, 1992. Special coverage.
People, I just want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along?
Rodney King, live statement.
Rodney King's face appeared, bruised still from another time, but this time he wasn't silent. His words weren't rehearsed. They weren't polished, but they were raw. "Can we get along?" I couldn't stop crying, not because it fixed anything, but because it reminded me of how long we had been asking that question. Quietly, politely, legally, and now loudly, in fire and fury. The unrest heard around the country began at Florence and Normandy, near 70th Street, 25 blocks from my front door, in the heart of South LA. The first reports came in just after the verdict was announced. A truck driver named Reginald Denny was pulled from his cab and brutally beaten, and news helicopters captured it live for the nation to see, just as they'd seen the video of Mr. King. But I realize now that that intersection wasn't just a random flashpoint. It was symbolic, just blocks from communities that had endured over-policing, redlining, food deserts, and poverty for decades. When the verdict dropped, the tension had already been years in the making. In the days that followed, it became clear who would carry the weight of what had happened. Us, not the jurors, not the officers, but the South Central families, the South Central businesses, the Black and brown mothers whose children were now dealing with curfews not set by parents, but by tanks. I remember seeing handwritten signs on shop doors, Black owned, hoping it would spare them. Some were spared, many weren't. The store where I bought my son's baby formula, gone. The daycare I had hoped to enroll him in next year, torched. And the local pharmacy, the one run by Mr. Abdul since the early 70s, leveled.
I want to share with you the financial impact that shapes that area to this day. Over 1,000 businesses were damaged or destroyed in the 1992 uprising. An estimated $1.1 billion in property damage was reported. More than half of those businesses never reopened, particularly those in Black-owned commercial corridors. Insurance companies either refused to pay or underpaid claims, citing civil unrest exemptions. Federal aid trickled in, but much of it was redirected to major development projects, not the working-class neighborhoods that suffered the most. Over time, large corporate chains replaced local businesses, creating a landscape of economic extraction, not restoration.
It bothers me still that what wasn't reported was how many people lost their lifelong dreams in a single weekend. How many elders never bounced back. How many of us walked further for groceries, took 2 buses to a pharmacy, or gave up entirely on owning anything ever again. It wasn't just fire that scarred us, it was the silence that followed. They said we burned down our own neighborhoods, but no one ever asked who owned what, or why so many of us were just renting space in our own communities. The weeks turned into months. Slowly, smoke gave way to plywood, then murals, then gentrification. But the grief never left. I raised my son in the shadow of a moment the world called a riot, but we knew better. It was a reckoning. And still, I dressed him every morning, combed his hair, taught him to stand tall, even when the system tried to keep him low, because we were never just angry, we were suffering. It's been over 30 years. My son is grown now, and still, every April, I remember that night when the sky burned, not because it broke us, but because it revealed how much we had already survived. I didn't tell the story for pity. I told it for record, for truth, for South LA, because we deserved justice then, and we damn sure still do now.
Hi, friends. I want to personally thank you for enjoying my short stories and tall tales. And this short story is based on a moment in my life that has shaped me, which is why I wanted to share it, even though I share it in a way that doesn't provide all of the personal details. I was able to craft something that I'm pretty proud of. And so I thought I'd share with you an afterword about where this sort of hits for me. Right now in my life, I am the mother of three. Even though when that story took place, I was the mother of one. Back in the day, my children are now grown, and each one is shaped by a different season of my life. But no matter how many years pass, I have never forgotten what happened in April of 1992. I've never forgotten how my community truly suffered. Not because we were reckless, though a lot of people were, and not because we were lawless, though a lot of people were, but because we were denied justice that was owed to us, obviously owed to us. I watched good people lose everything, not just their businesses or their homes, but their belief that this country would ever truly see us. And from that day on, something inside me changed. It didn't harden me, but it truly awakened me to the things that I had been hearing, the stories that my ancestors had been shaping over time. And that's why today, everything I share, in almost every book that I review, every story that I put together, I try to uncover enlightened and rooted truths, things that resonate. I don't share for entertainment alone, although I get a huge kick out of those things that are entertaining. That's not solely why I do this. I do this because I want to reclaim, and I want to rebuild the narrative that is my culture, the way that I feel about my people, told by somebody who was there, who witnessed it from all sides, watching my community suffer and watching a narrative develop that wasn't even close to what was really happening. Our lives aren't just side notes in history, they are history. I'm a mother, I'm a witness, and I am a voice, and I will always be that. And I will never stop telling the truth about what we endured and how we rose again and again from the ashes. I'll see you in my next short story.